Gates of Orchid and Iris is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. Remember to like, share, comment, review, and subscribe to our podcast.
So I do plan to play a Shugenja character, spoilers, but that means I would love to explore like visiting shrines and revering kami and stuff like that. I don't plan to like lecture anybody, but maybe I might drop a couple of lines from Shinsei's Tao. You never know. But is that gonna be all right? It's a fictional setting.
Are people fine with philosophical discussion within games?
Yeah, that's the question right there.
Yeah, because I like to. I think that's some of the most fun role playing out there because, in this fantasy setting, you run into scenarios you never would in real life. I have a lot of fun discussing the philosophy around that, but some people will get uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I worry less that because it seems like Paul has gathered a group of like-minded individuals. I worry less that we're going to offend each other and that we're potentially, we're going to offend the audience because I will gladly discuss religion, philosophy, like agnosticism versus atheism versus theism, what the different like theologies have in their tenets and this sort of thing. Is Buddhism a religion or is it a philosophy? Like exactly. That sort of thing. Like if we get into that, we are gonna make somebody mad because there's a why there's the expression never talk about religion or politics. Yeah. Like that exists for a reason.
And also I'm like allowing people to be like, queer samurai. And I think a lot of the people who already can't get over that barrier will probably not listen to us. So
I also don't know that there's a way to get around it if you even have one spiritualist character playing in either group. Like, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Unless we fade the veil every time it comes
No, oh man, every time I talk, oh no, fade the veil quick.
Just yeah.
So
don't speak, just roll.
No, cultural religious stuff. Like as long as we're not like torturing anyone over like religious rights or whatever, I think we're cool. Like
no inquisitions here.
Yeah, no inquisitions.
No, please.
Especially Spanish ones.
That's a very cool thing to bring up too, because some GMs, I don't know how it happens, but they treat this system like, oh, this is a seminar on how, real life Bushido is viewed, and I'm going to change your mind about everything you know. This is a real samurai simulator.
So any other thing that like we can tolerate in the game, but we just want to have like behind a closed door.
I think I'm on the same page as pretty much everybody else on things.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. I always feel like I'm like, hey guys, let's have dessert, but first we're gonna finish the rest of our vegetables, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do this.
No, I love ethics talks. I love those.
Give it.
So, there are some things I would like to introduce that I've pulled from other systems, and I'm one of those people who I get a new system, I'm like, I can't do it this way. There's better ways to do this. So I usually just put in stuff that may or may not belong. And so the first thing is, and I've talked to, I think, a bunch of you about this, it's basically a devil's bargain. So in this game, we have the dice, we have a number of successes to get, but there's always that case where sometimes you don't get all the successes and you get nothing but opportunities. And I know from actually playing, I've had that happen at least 4 or 5 different times. And instead of totally shutting you down, like you can spend opportunities on the rings in appropriate ways, and yeah, there's several ways to do that, and that's a while to explain. So, yeah. But another way that you can spend opportunities, if you have at least 2 opportunities, and you don't have enough successes to actually succeed, I'll present you with 2 opportunities, and it's a way to fail forward the story, so it doesn't really like give you a major roadblock. Like it really sucks when, you're trying to break into a place, and yeah, you just really don't get anything to help you out. In this way, I can give you options, and it's gonna help you out in some way, but it may not be straightforward what it is, but it will help move things along.
So that is extremely interesting. If only for this new 5th edition, the core philosophy of it is instead of just rolling for every single thing, the GM wants to limit the rolls to what's really important to the story and moving it forward. If there's not an interesting consequence for failing, then don't even bother with the roll. Basically, is what it says.
Yep.
Having it be okay. Well, tell you what, you didn't make it, but you can still kind of get what you want. I'm just going to complicate the story, inject some drama or something, some kind of twist, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I do. I don't know about the rest of everybody.
So yeah, Rachel's character was going through a small part of the Cinnamon Forest. It's for people who don't know or listeners. It's a really spooky, magical forest full of a lot of things.
It's full of snakes.
Magical flying snakes. So, oh yeah, also full of snakes too. Anyways.
So confused.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
Are you trying to say like cinnamon, but it's coming out weird? I don't.
No, snakes. Lots of magical snakes.
Yeah, Naga people.
Yep.
Ah.
Anyways.
Okay. Yes.
Her character was trying to get through it. Had her do basically a survival navigation check to go through it, and the TN was, I think it wasn't too hard. It was like 3 or whatever. But I guess that's hard for. Anyways, didn't get any successes whatsoever out of all the dice she had, but she did have the opportunities. So I decided to go, okay, so we're gonna have a choice here, and either you can have something, you're gonna find your way out, but while you're in here, either you're gonna have something that will complicate things for later, or something that will start a whole new side quest.
So what you're kind of saying is like what they do in World of Darkness. You can succeed at a cost.
Yes.
Cool.
There are consequences.
Yes, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I've played other systems that do the same thing as well. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's not a new novel idea, but it's something I dearly love, and I think does help move the game along a bit more.
Yeah, especially since this is like a recorded serial thing.
Yeah.
Having somebody fail a roll and then, oh man, the story stopped. What do we do? Uh-oh. That's not fun.
Yeah. No. And I always like options to keep the game just moving forward and keep going. And, until it just spirals out of control and everybody's in complete chaos and somehow you guys have to fix it. So.
Although this does bring up an interesting idea about attack rolls, though. I mean, do you plan on having attack rolls succeed even if they don't? That'd be kind of weird, right?
Yeah, that would be kind of weird. I think this would be solely an out of combat thing.
Yeah, very good. I like that.
Yeah, because I don't know how we would actually do that in combat.
I mean, you'd probably still miss, but you could, if you had a bunch of opportunity, you could set up for something better.
But there's already things set up in the rules for combat and opportunities. Yeah.
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 The only thing I could ever think of would be like wound for wound.
Yeah.
Because like I'd feel completely robbed at an opportunity if I was in a duel, and how intricate the strategy is with dueling mechanics. Like I just get the win even though I like missed it. It kind of feels like things didn't play out naturally. It was all stacked to begin with. Yeah.
All I ask is that the lips sync up.
No,
Oh,
never.
you know what? Actually, yeah, we never talked about accents.
Um,
No, let's not.
no,
Because
I don't think
we
so.
tread on
actually,
very
this is a really
No.
good thing. Accents, if you do it respectfully, if you don't make it a character, if you don't go Mickey Rooney for breakfast at Tiffany's, you're gonna be okay.
I would not chance it.
I
mean, the only accent I brought up was my actual Southern accent, as I am from Kentucky. I don't know that I would try anyone else's accent.
Exactly. Doing an accent from home, sure.
So long as it's within your home country, you're generally okay. Or
Yeah.
making fun of people like.
The closest thing I've done with it, which I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's like, I made a Norwegian character, and I made it based on a specific actor's specific fake accent for a character I was inspired by. So I mimicked that. So it wasn't like classic Norwegian. It was very interesting and strange, but it really built the character really well. It wasn't like, I am a Norwegian, listen to me talk. It was like, this is a very strange accent for a character voice that is inspired by Norwegian.
Hey man, as soon as I hear you like doing, if you start turning your R's and L's or backwards, otherwise I'm just gonna roll my eyes so hard I'm gonna fall out of my skull.
I would stop the game. I would be like, what the hell are you doing?
I mean, you probably have heard me try and do that accent. Is that kind of? I'm not going to do the same one, but is that kind of a thing? Probably fine.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're trying to be like as respectful as you can, and you're not like going all out like gonzo crazy like racist.
No.
Yeah, I think if any of us or anybody in the like audience community says something about it, like they feel uncomfortable, we should definitely have that discussion.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to try to stop it before if it does like get to that point. And
So I'm not doing an accent.
Yeah, and it's I'm more or less of the mind thought of, first and foremost, we're playing this game for ourselves, and we want to be like, I want to have it so you guys are comfortable, and our product of us having fun is basically what the listeners are going to listen to,
and not get hurt by.
Yeah.
It does bring up a good point, though, of how do you all want to communicate both to each other and to the DM what we're saying in character versus what we're saying out of character.
Yeah, that's also very true.
Because face in the game, from what I've read so far, is a very big thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, for instance, in some circumstances, like, I mean, as long as if you do something that is a low skill, for instance, losing some honor or losing some glory, if you do it in front of somebody with high status, it's up to them. It's up to them to look away, basically, to help you save face in that moment.
I just noticed something in the drawing above.
Editor's note. The picture in the Discord chat in which Spoiled Chestnut is referring to is the cover of Warrior Poet by Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. The cover depicts a man and a woman in front of a torii gate, locked in battle underneath a full moon.
Her kimono is on backwards because if you do the right side over never mind. I thought it was on backwards because right side over left side is how you dress a dead person. Living people have it the left side over the right side.
Oh, good to know.
There's a lot of tiny nuanced things. Like,
yeah, there are.
Like, you don't
But-
wear shoes indoors, but there's a reason why you don't use shoes indoors. Because you'll ruin tatami mats.
Yep.
Also, you don't, like, point at people with chopsticks. You don't share food with chopsticks. And you really don't stick chopsticks in things
They're
straight up and
rice.
down.
No.
Yeah, not especially not a bowl of rice.
Not in a bowl of rice, no, especially not. The last one is because that's how you give offerings to like the dead. But the reason that you don't share food with chopsticks and like point at people is because during like cremation, they use metal chopsticks to take the bits of bone out of the ash. So it's seen as disrespectful. Yeah. It all goes back to dead people. It's very strange.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we talked about that a while back, to be honest, with the whole touching dead people and whatnot. It's very important.
I don't think all of us need to know these like tiny little things about culture, because again, this is a wholly Asian, not just Japan. There's like aspects of China, aspects of other places as well, I'm sure, even though it's Bushido. So it's fantasy Asia. So I don't think people are expected to know all these tiny little culturalisms.
But if you do know, like you know, like what you just said, and you want to incorporate that, or other like Asian cultures and little quirks and stuff, I think that kind of expands on the world we are playing in.
Yeah,
and,
some flavor.
Yeah, it would add some flavor. And like, as long as we are respectful about the cultures that we are taking these from, and we don't turn it into like a giant joke.
Yeah,
you know,
agreed.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about L5R and actually putting this like out into the public that I'm worried about is that, like, you know, we end up looking like a bunch of racist people. You know, it's like,
we're not. I promise we're not.
Yeah, and
like you'll get it one way or another. Either you'll be like somebody's going to comment saying, "Hey, you didn't get that part of the society right," or "You didn't get that part of IRL society right," when it's not supposed to be about that. It is a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And then otherwise you'll get those, "Hey, you got the rules wrong, buddy. Oh, I'm going to talk to you for pages about it."
Oh, dude, yeah, like Tales of Swordfall and rules, we're kind of loose and fast with those. With this, I'm gonna try to stick to the rules as close as possible as I can and remember. And if I do end up slipping up and like forget something really big, you can remind me. Like, I'm not one of those GMs who's like, "How dare you go against my word even though I'm wrong?" You know, I appreciate the help. I appreciate people like going, "Oh, hey, the rules actually say this, dude." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And can I add another caveat of, as long as we also don't get bogged down for 5 hours on one ruling.
No. So I think
we can fight each other in chat after the session.
Yeah. That's actually what I was about to say. If you have a
game out mid combat.
Yeah.
I've had to do that before, where it's like people are going, "It should be done this way," and then the other person goes, "It should be done this way," and I'm like, "Look, I'm gonna do it this way, and we'll fight later. We're live."
We're playing.
I think we can all agree the GM is the final say on these rules for sure. And if you full rights on your behalf there, GM, to sideboard things, give us the whole "we'll talk about it later" bit. But hopefully reverse, though, if something is just that important to us because of the life or death situation, this is like the difference between my character dying, I might just kind of dig in my heels a little bit. But I trust you. I don't think
that's understandable though. Like, nobody wants their character to die, and if you see like something glaring that I'm like, nope, they're just gonna hit you, you're fucking dead, and you can stop me. Like, if that's the case, if it's especially if it's big and glaring.
Yeah, I've been the GM on that in that scenario before, where I felt totally terrible afterwards. The player trusted me entirely with killing his character, and I was like, "No, wait! I looked at the rules later. I was so wrong. I'm so sorry. Let's redo this over chat, okay?"
Yeah, I've had to roll back some decisions. It's and on my podcast too. One of our earlier episodes, I'm like, so let me explain about going back on things I said last episode and just oh gosh, what is it called?
Retconning.
Retconning.
Retcon.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember that, Gatts? It was I think shot Horatio point blank or something.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. It was.
It was pretty gnarly, but I was like, okay, let's roll this back and begin from right before I murdered your
Oh.
character.
I mean, sometimes like when I've GM'd, even like if we're all having an off night, like not bad rolls, but we're just not doing a good job, and the night goes badly. It's fine to be like, can we just redo that next week? That wasn't good.
Didn't jive, man.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right. Like, and everybody agrees. Like, yeah, there's just something weird, and that everybody's off.
I can imagine that being a little tougher for a serial release podcast, but
it can, and it's rare. Like, it's happened once.
I try to play these as much like as close to a home game as I can, but there's things like we're all in different states and time zones and shit like that. So it's hard to do like an actual play, but as long as we explain to the audience what's happening and all that stuff, I think we are fine. Thank you for listening to Gates of Orchid and Iris. Remember to like, share, comment, review, and subscribe to our podcast. You can also support us through the listener support button on our anchor.fm page. That's anchor.fm/GOIL5R.